God, this game is sick. Ape Escape is more than just what low IQ prison guards shout in Chicago when they see people breaking out. It's also a franchise, a damn good one. A franchise where apes escape. Well, hopefully not for long. For only $49.99 plus tip, you can make sure no ape ever escapes the Maybelline factory again. The box art for this game is burned into my brain. When my dad first came home with a PlayStation 1, he bought us 4 games to go with it. Nightmare Creatures, Unholy War, Final Fantasy VII, and Metal Gear Solid. I'm sure some of you are thinking, wow, your dad's taste in games is great. He got you 2 of the most sneak and materia-pilled games on Earth, and these 2? Don't get me wrong, I was grateful for the bountiful feast laid out before us. Although a little part of my dipshit brain was disappointed. In some gaming magazine recently, I'd seen a few page spread about a new PS1 game that looked up my alley. It was called Ape Escape. And since I'd finished DK64 recently, I had a gaping hole that only a monkey could fill. Which, funny enough, if I was a white southern girl looking to disappoint my father, would go right in my Tinder profile. Platformers have always been the best genre. This looked no different. I mean, look at these bullet points. Takes full advantage of DualShock controller, over 200 apes to hunt down, bonus rounds? Dude, this sounds bananas. This was the game I was hoping to pick up when we eventually got a PlayStation. I would always walk by it in the store. Eventually I rented it from Rogers Video, and I loved it. Friendly reminder though that video game rental stores provided a core component to the shared experience between many people growing up in that era. The removal of them has not been satisfactorily replaced to keep up with the culture, and the ability for many of us to have played the same games while not forcing our parents to take out f***ing payday loans was because of them. And no, your local library doesn't f***ing count. I'm not waiting 14 months for Al-Sabin al-Bakad to return Ape Escape to the library. A couple years back, Canada removed this so-called values check from its citizenship test. The reason being is that this was fucking on it. Okay, Miss Al-Sabin al-Bakad, if allowed into this country, would you return the copy of Ape Escape you rented from the library in the week you promised you would? Oh, I'm sorry, you wouldn't? Denied! Get out! The Japanese name of the game is Saru Get You, named after the Saru monkeys that keep getting out. The cover art for this version plays more into their mascot style of advertisement than ours. In the modern day, I would take the Japanese one over the American one, but the English one is cool. But way in the depths of Europe, an artist who was tired from a long day of playing Sonic the Hedgehog at 50 hertz put together this atrocity of a box art. The font really does it for me. But it's also weirdly false advertising, as the one frame of animation on the cover is from when the apes are decidedly not escaping. Japan Studios was something else, man. And yes, I'm still fucking mad. I'm not sure how much of the apes' design was actually on purpose versus just what naturally happens when you build a monkey out of triangles, but however it happened, I'm all for it. You'd never mistake these creatures for something else, a lot like the PS1 visuals themselves. Booting into the first level here, something becomes immediately apparent. While the developers were itching to tell you about their exclusive use of the DualShock controller, what we actually see occurring here in real time is a group of developers looking at a new product, a new way of playing games, only to find themselves at a complete loss for what to actually do with it. This is entirely fair, by the way. The Edge magazine's infamous 1994 7 out of 10 review of Doom lamented the fact that you couldn't talk to these creatures instead of killing them. Little did this dipshit know, Shin Megami Tensei solved it like 2 years prior. Sony showed the DualShock to the Japanese employees, who wondered how anyone had hands large enough to hold it. They moved the first stick, controlling the main character Spike, and they thought, wow, it's so fluid! It's like I am real! Okay, none of that. Wow, it's so fluid. It's like I'm really controlling this character. But the minute his thumb hit that second stick, it was f***ing panic time. People familiar with this game might know where I'm going with this, but remember, our modern sensibility of just mapping the camera to the second stick wasn't enforced by the European Union yet. Plus, there's no control options in this game, sans the Monster Hunter Crypt style. But wait, didn't you say the game takes full advantage of the DualShock controller? You ask, eating a bowl of unsalted peanuts that have yet to be peeled. So what does the second stick do? And quick note, if anybody is disappointed in me for not using an actual PS2 controller, I know, I am too. I forgot my dongle in the air fryer, and now the MC Tokyo drifts away from me at full speed like he's a Japanese man and I'm his ovulating wife. Yeah, this son of a bitch is for attacking. And hold on, before you say it, yes, I know, okay? It's different. We're actually just getting started here. You see this controller, right? And you see this character, right? There's jumpable stuff all over the place. It's a platforming game, right? So obviously you can jump. So the next question is, which button jumps? If you guessed A, B, X, Y, either stick, any D-pad direction, or the triggers, you'd be wrong! Behold the power of Japanese ingenuity. The Japanese really got cocky after Matsushita blew the fuck out of the world of electronics in the 80s. Alright, so we have directional attacking with the stick and jumping with the fucking R1 button. Anything else? Yeah, actually. Here's the save screen. You can use any screen, but this one's cool. Let's say you're done looking at this cute little floaty memory card GIF, and you want to go back to the actual game. If you want to back out of this menu, which button would you press? Some of you might think, oh, he's gonna bring up the endless cultural debate of circle versus X for going back in the menu. How foolish you are! Guess what? Japan Studios ended racism when they decided to use the fucking square and triangle buttons for this. Yeah, circle and X are both confirmed. There's also a double jump that if you activate too late, doesn't go off. So if you wait too long to press it, tough shit. I would love to see footage of 100 different people playing this first level. You see this bright sky chirping bird, total of like 3 ledges level? You feel like such a stupid dumbass as you flail around these first few levels. Alright, so what was so damn important, they needed all the face buttons to be free. Well, guess what? You use these to select your weapon, or your gadget as it's called. So you're telling me they expected this game to provide such high-octane monkey catchery that you just needed the item swap to be done with a single tap? Well, guess what, Mr. Director? You know how many gadgets there are in the game? There's 6! And how many face buttons are there? There's fucking 4! So not only was the instant access to my asshole not needed, it's actually worse than any sort of weapon wheel alternative. And guess what? I love this shit. I call this the learn to walk moment, or L2W if you're using MSN Messenger with your friends. Quick side story. The first time I ever talked with a girl from class on MSN Messenger, this was when everyone first started to get internet. I had fun talking with her, so I emailed her saying that it was fun and said maybe we should chat online again tomorrow. Which is psychotic, but it was a different time. The email linked to her account was used by her other family members as well. It was a bit of a family mailbox. So I actually got an email back from her mom saying, "That sounds fun. Let me ask her." As levels progress, the professor cooks up more gear for you to use. In total, there's 6 items you can unlock. I have no evidence for this, but it really feels like the devs purposefully held back. Anybody with a half-decent imagination could probably go wild when asked to create more monkey hunting items. Holding back isn't bad either. I have a massive amount of respect for developers who limit their scope to smooth out the edges. Excluding the 2 standard items of stick to hit with and net to catch with, we have the slingback shooter, typical slingshot for distance attacks, and it also functions as a camera. The dash hoop to run real fast. The sky flyer, spin into the air and fall slower. The RC care for entering areas too tight for spike, like this girl. And the magic punch, a much longer, more fun club. But that's all. Considering the magic punch is arguably more of an upgrade, that means there's only really 4. And yeah, I'm sure the ape aficionados out there are throwing their hands up in the air shouting, "What about the monkey radar? He forgot the monkey radar!" I didn't forget, retard. The monkey radar lets you scan the area to see where the remaining monkeys are. The guy who designed this item needs some serious praise. How many times have you been playing a platformer and you just couldn't find where the hell the last thing was? The guy who designed this was taking GameFAQs walkthrough writers' jobs decades before AI. When you scan, you get this really awesome little observation screen. You get the monkey's stats and you can watch them hang out. This is almost unbelievable. You know what's soulless? When an NPC is marked on your map, Or, Lord, please forgive me for saying this, an arrow pointing you in the direction of where to go. No marking the map, no directions. How about we just painstakingly get killer camera angles of every ape in the entire game and position them cleverly so players can kind of use their own internal map to find them. Don't know where this monkey is? Well, he's surrounded by water. There was water in the basement, right? So maybe I'll go back. Oh yeah, this area goes way deeper. And would you look at that? Me and my team figured this out using a gadget that our professor made for us. I didn't even include this in the gadgets list because something this beautifully designed deserves to be called more than a gadget. This bitch is a doohickey minimum. But the gadgets altogether provide some pretty wide range of use. You know in Metroid or Castlevania when you get an item that lets you turn into a bat or something? A hyper-specific item just to cross one gap or get through one door? That can be fine. But the upgrades in Ape Escape are major. Every time you get a new gadget, the professor puts you in this simulation stage where you get to try it out. In tutorials like this, I've always thought bringing the action to a halt to jam text down my throat was annoying. I'm more of a hit buttons and see what happens kind of guy. But I am very happy to report that somebody finally took my suggestion of having both. These little practice stages are wonderful. They're extremely short, tight stages with only 1 or 2 concepts being explored. Some of you might think, why have a tutorial at all? I can do an any percent run of Final Fantasy VIII in 6 hours flat. And yeah, you see, I tend to agree, but there is a reason for this. There was no lack of colorful games available at the time, but this one still stood out. A comfy hub world that feels good to return to? Check. Cute little diorama of the level before you pick it? Check. A minority locator? Check. After the first stage, the remainder of the first world is filled with these jungle water stages. The aesthetic is really nice. I think from a plot standpoint, we kind of got sent way back to the dinosaur times, and we work up from there. First area is very dino appropriate, what with all the jungles everywhere. You get some cool views of the wildlife in these parts. This Loch Ness style monster is kind of cool, and you got flying dino birds who have their eggs scattered all around. Granted, some of these hills look a little Aztecian, so I don't know if this is the dino age so much as the anything before modern history age. Sorry to harp on this again, but what button do you think you use to descend in water? If you guessed R3, congratulations, you're insane enough to work at Japan Studios. This level was always my favorite. Even Shigeru himself knew that riding the Saurus was the original goal of video games. The lighting in the background and the change from previous levels is fantastic. In any other game, getting this one monkey caught off the dino's back would be easy. But at this point, we're still learning to walk, so don't feel bad if it takes you quite a few tries. Travel through time and the professor sends you your first upgrade, Slingshot. It opens up some options on how you want to tackle things, although when these monkeys get into the UFOs, no more learning to walk. This is like taking your first step as a baby and then your uncle bursts in the room and pepper sprays you. I actually remember a friend who purchased the remake of this game on the PSP, On the Loose I think it was called, and he actually quit playing at this first UFO monkey. These guys are brutal. But that friend did get arrested 11 years ago for setting his girlfriend on fire, so use that as an indicator for the kind of person that can't beat these guys. Don't be like him, keep trying, you'll get it. In this same stage, we actually come across the first environmental hazard. Enemies fill the water here, making normal traversal impossible. You'll just die if you jump in. But no worries, somebody left a boat here. How convenient. Before I even step into this bastard, do you know what issue is going to present itself immediately upon entering? Oh my god, this is rough. Each paddle is controlled with a different joystick. Circling them causes you to actually pedal. Problem is that this is actually mapped to 8-way direction, so it's nowhere near as fluid as you'd think it would be. Although, get good, wouldn't have it any other way. When you're trapped in a car that's sinking to the bottom of the river, you either learn about cars or you die. This screen shows you how many monkeys you caught in the last stage. It's really cozy. Some of these stages can be kind of stressful, so seeing this girl with a little thumbs up at the end makes you feel nice. Next one is the first big stage. This one is legit bigger than the first 4 or 5 levels put together. The main challenge area in this one is chasing this monkey down, dodging obstacles and hitting switches. There's a sign right before the temple that reminds you don't need to catch all the monkeys to progress in the game, and that this temple is for the more confident players. This area, gamers only. Non-gamers, walk out! Not needing to catch every ape in the stage is straight out of Mario 64, and it's genius for obvious reasons. When you come back later to collect the missing apes, you can use the endgame power-ups. It's a nice way to kind of gaslight players into thinking they got better. The moon here is cool. Lots of good skyboxes so far. From here onward, we get a mix of long linear levels and more open boxy ones. When you enter a stage, you really have no idea what to expect. When looking back through the footage on these levels, I kept thinking, oh yeah, that level was cool, or oh yeah, fuck that part. Sinking its teeth into your memories is crucial for games like this. Being able to remember all the stuff I did was impressive, considering you don't visit every level repeatedly like Mario 64. We run into Buzz again. He's being mind-controlled by specters, so he challenges us to a race. There's a few of these throughout the game. Each one incorporates the most recent gear piece you got, and adds some obstacles to test your skill. These can get really tricky. In the later half of the game, you don't even need to win these to continue. But if you're like me, seeing his smug smirk at the end of the level is enough to push you into trying it as long as it takes. In the finale of the prehistoric area, we go directly inside one of the dinosaurs. In the PS1 N64 time period's executive enforced vor stage, these are great. Going through the chambers of the stomach is really fun. You get taught a bunch in this stage, like some apes will fall through platforms if you shoot them, and that boss fights exist. Next, we proceed in time to the Ice Age levels. The design here clearly gets more intricate. I like this puzzle where you hit the switch and you need to use the run hoop to get up in time. The Hot Spring stage is an obvious standout. Because of how many apes hide below and above the stage, you really start to feel grateful for not needing to collect all of them. It's also where you start using the radar a bit more. Another racing stage, which I would rather not discuss. Let's just say I beat it on my first try. Up next is Old Asia World. I don't actually know what to call these levels. Because of the sort of janky jumping, it's not totally uncommon to need to start areas over because you get a bit cocky. This stage in particular is when I realized I was never going to be good at this game. The windows for some of these catches are really tight. You can get pretty frustrated here if you haven't done your daily affirmations. Right after this jump here is actually where I got my first game over, which was especially hard because that means all the monkeys I just collected get reset. But hey, what can you do? Learn to walk. When you arrive back in the headquarters between levels, you see these mini games start to open up. You have to collect a certain amount of these star coins in each level, or monkey coins, I don't know. I love that the devs are confident enough for the game's content to be its own reward. Games used to do this a lot. Nintendo's usually seen as the master of this kind of stage-based collection stuff, but they get seriously blown out sometimes. It doesn't seem like they started each level with a default size either. It was a really smart choice. This stage is massive with interlocking levels, an underground leading back outside, multiple ways in and out. The monkey radar comes in clutch. It's really cool how they keep you guessing on how big the levels are going to be. You really have no idea before you start one. Cutscenes sprinkled through the game are kept to a serious minimum. The voice acting hits me so hard that I do wish these were increased a bit. But then I stop myself because demanding a game have more cutscenes is a dogshit take. Literally 100% of the time. Oh, once again, innocent Japanese thinkers have their work stolen by white pigu. Using the RC car to chase monkeys out of their hiding spots is fun as hell. These parts where you climb on top of the glass as you drive under it make me feel like a genius. The Bayonetta Cereza game on the Switch had some very similar puzzles, and that game was awesome, so go play that too. The tank levels in the latter part of this world can get pretty hectic. It's another case of the controls being more difficult in practice than they look. Whoever decided on these thin roadway parts should really get a grip. The final level's like 5 levels in one. This is up there with the best of the 3D Mario levels. Every corner, literally, of this stage is filled with its own areas that would be enough for a single stage elsewhere. This one level is no joke enough to be its own world in any other game. Man, where the hell did minecart levels go? These should be in literally every game. Losing these was one of the great tragedies of modern gaming, just below the loss of pre-rendered backgrounds and just above abusing women online with no consequences. Truck your way through this stage and you take on the final boss. Funny enough, I damage boost through the end of this fight because I don't know how to do it. Wrap that up and you're done. Easy, right? You unlock the boxing glove punch once you've beaten the game, and you get the chance to revisit stages and collect the monkey coins you missed. Playing through these a second time is like you've activated a cheat code. Remember how much of a stupid dipshit I looked on this stage before? Well now, it's the same, but I have a boxing glove now. I know I blew through everything, so it seems like this game is 10 minutes long, and it is short, but the immense attention to detail and rock-solidly creative gameplay means I don't want to spoil it for you. We could go through this game frame by frame as I slowly describe it to you, breathing heavily into the mic with a respiratory infection, but we'd be here for about 9 hours. Game length is a super controversial topic. Games getting longer is kinda good because consumers get more for their money, but it doesn't mean much when you buy Assassin's Creed for $3.44, only for you to run around like an incel with his head cut off for 200 hours. Nintendo went on record saying they wanted to mix up the gameplay if they're going to make something new. Keeping a game slow and steady can be fine, but with something as bursting with creativity as this, hopping between ideas really fast plays to its strength. It's a focused, tightly packed game that's a bit of a unicorn even in its own era. Indie games kind of filled this gap, but I have some extensive opinions on those, so maybe another time. If you want to play a video game, then give this one a shot. I don't mean you want to step into a living, breathing world, or you want to be a part of something bigger. I mean play a video game. That's it. If you want to play a video game, boot this fucker up. The Apes Escaped. Get to it.